So, some of you may know or may not know, but I just purchased my first home and I am super excited. I purchased my home through a program called NACA. And I know, a lot of people might be like, NACA, what is NACA? Or I've heard of NACA and they didn't hear really good things. But let me tell you, NACA was the best thing for me. When I tell you no down payment, no closing costs, no private mortgage insurance, no fees. I didn't have to pay for my appraisal, nothing. This was the best thing for me. And I know that it will be the best thing for you. So, those of you that may not have heard of NACA, NACA stands for Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. And it was designed for people who may not think that they could afford a house or may not have thought that they could own a home. This program was like, yes, you can. Okay. Yes, you can. And I had heard of NACA through a couple of my friends who had both done it and been really successful. So I really believed in the product because I had two friends that were really successful. And I'm here today to tell you that you can be successful with NACA because I was just so proud that when I was done purchasing this home that I had saved a lot of money. I had saved so much money because I thought that I was going to have to pay all of this. When I tell you I walked into my house and I didn't have to spend any of the money that I saved, I was like, awesome, I can use this for decorations. So it's just been great. So this video is basically about 3 tips on how you can navigate through NACA faster. Because a lot of people, their complaint is, oh my God, it takes so long. Oh my gosh, it's just this. When I tell you, I started off with NACA in September and I purchased my home in March. Now, a part of that was because I was very picky about my home. So once I was approved, it wasn't like I just found a house on the spot. I was very picky. I wanted a really nice home for myself. But here's 3 tips on how to navigate through NACA faster. So tip number one, use the chat, online chat for NACA, which you can find on the NACA homepage in the right-hand corner. It's at the very bottom. It's really tiny. You could miss it, but tap on that. And I love the chat. When I tell you, you get instant responses, they have to respond to you. So if you use the chat, you get instant responses because I remember I would call a lot of the time. And when you're in NACA and you call, sometimes you get voicemails or you get passed on to different people or you don't get what you need. But if you use that online chat at the bottom, you can ask questions about your loan, ask if, what's your status, what's your next appointment, what you need to bring to that appointment. And I loved that. I loved the online chat because it really, really helped me. All right. Tip number two is that when you start this process, after you take your class, please request a remote loan officer. When I tell you this was the best thing since sliced bread, me and my loan officer, I was in Atlanta and my loan officer was in North Carolina, and it was great. Every time we had an appointment, we would talk on the phone. We would schedule them either after work or on my break at work, and it was just great. It was great. It was easy. I didn't have to worry about fighting through traffic, trying to get to someone's office. I loved it. It was wonderful. It was a great tool. It made everything so much faster and smoother. And shout out to Amy. She was my loan officer. She's no longer with NACA, but she was absolutely awesome. And this kind of goes into tip number 3. Tip number 3 is everyone knows when you're purchasing a home, it is tons and tons and tons and tons of paperwork, okay? Paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. And sometimes your loan officer, they'll be like, can I get this again? And you're like, I'm sorry, but I've already faxed this to you. No. What you want to do is to download a fast scanner app to your cell phone or your iPad mobile device. When I tell you this made my life so much easier, every time my loan officer needed some paperwork, I was able to take a picture of it, and then it works as a scanner, so they make it look like it's scanned, and I was able to email it to her right on the spot, okay? And I love this because the fast scanner also holds all the paperwork. So if you lose a copy of it, guess what? It's still in your file on the fast scanner. It makes your life so much easier, especially in the home buying process. And even if you aren't going through NACA, it makes it easier with anything that you're trying to do. I absolutely love my fast scanner app. I use it for everything now. Like anytime I need things, or I have paperwork that I know I may lose, or I don't want to keep it, or I don't want my place to be junky. I put it in my fast scanner, and boom, it's there, and it's a file. I have it forever. Okay, anytime I log on to my fast scanner app, even if I change phones, it's still there. So those are my 3 tips on how to navigate through NACA faster. I am an advocate for NACA. It is a great program. I kept all my money in my pocket. I loved it. It's great. And if you have any questions, please feel free